Pravleen, good having you. Thanks for joining. It's been a while.
Thanks.
Happy 2021 to you. Any quick thoughts, Pravleen, on this fund? I don't know if you got a chance to hear Gaurav or no, but you would have read about this or you would have researched into this NFO. What's your sense? Should people subscribe? Should people give it a pass?
So hi Neeraj, thanks for having me over. So I think first up that of course retirement is one of the most important goals for each one of us. So it's very nice when you see a product, which is offering a solution actually. So that's the good part of it. And also that these, 4 funds, the 4 categories that they have, it's kind of a, mix of different assets because they're going to have exposure to gold as well, a bit of REITs and debt and equity, of course. So it captures the idea of goal-based investing. That's good. It can bring in the discipline, Neeraj, because 5 years of lock-in, so the investor knows that he or she cannot exit, and times such as 2020 March, so you have to be there. Another good thing in this fund is that you won't make the panic or hasty withdrawals. So that's the good side of this. Now, on the negative, I would say that the 4 categories that they offer, Neeraj, the hybrid, aggressive, these are actually already existing, as individual categories in the equity mutual fund space. And so there is nothing new as such. Second, what they offer is a automatic transfer based on age or a optional transfer that would be considered as a buy and sell. That means every such movement will involve you getting into all the taxation hassles as well. Now, having said that, asset allocation is a great thing. So age-based asset allocation, we need to follow that. As one ages, of course, you want to reduce your equity allocation in allocation. But again, do you want to do it at the scheme level? I would say from a taxation point of view, it would be better if you, as an investor, you're keeping your fixed income assets in a government-backed scheme such as an EPF or a PPF, where, your final withdrawals are totally tax-free. And for the equity part, I think investors can probably just manage with an index fund, one mid-cap fund, and maybe an index fund in the global markets. And, that can do the trick for them. So I think that can be a simpler approach. This can be slightly restrictive in nature, and also that you don't want to, if you're taking a small exposure, it won't really work. If you're taking a very large exposure, then there's risk of concentration because all the assets are being managed by the same fund house, the same scheme. So, very big exposure is not good that way, and a very small exposure won't make sense. So my take is that investors can avoid and actually do asset allocation, at their own end.
But if the investor is not equipped enough, then one either approach a financial advisor for the same, and if the person is wanting to do direct, then is this a good option, or are there other options available probably?
Simple, I feel, Gaurav, I think opening a PP, he was mentioning about the assets, Neeraj, but, opening has an, when you're working, having an EPF, I think it's there. Or opening a PPF account, it's not difficult at all. And, they beautifully allow you to compound your money at a, risk-free mechanism is there, where your proceeds are totally tax-free. I think that's one thing. And for a do-it-yourself investor, I guess, just go with the index fund, Nifty 50, Nifty Next 50. And if nothing else, if, they are not aware of anything else, I feel that that's easier. Because we are talking about really long-term investing. It's going to be for 3 decades. Do I want to pay taxes every 10 years or, shift? Because there will be some involvement from the investors' side, even in these, funds actually. Yeah.
Well, viewers, just one small thing that I would want to add out here is that while it may sound difficult that if you are between 40 and 50, then your equity versus debt exposure should be X, and when you move from 50 to 60, it should be reduced. These are things that you can do yourself because it's very easy to plot your total AUM on an Excel and try and take these calls if you're a DIY investor and if you don't have a financial advisor. 2, I don't think there's a set rule which will say that if you move from 50 to 51, right, you have to bring down your equity exposure to X and take your debt exposure to Y. It can happen over a period of 12 months.
It's a case-to-case basis, honestly, Neeraj.
Yeah. Well said, Pravleen. So thank you. It's very rare that on a mutual fund show somebody comes and says, okay, don't do this, but instead do a PPO for anything.
Okay.
well accepted. So probably you mentioned in in the opening answer that if for a long-term investor, the mid-cap category might not be a bad idea. Now, we were looking at the mid-cap category, YTD performers, 3-year performers, what have you. And there were 2 or 3 funds which stood out in terms of really good performances. There was Mirae, there was Axis, I think UTI mid-cap did well.
SBI, Edelweiss.
Yeah, Edelweiss did well. So there are these 3 or 4 funds which have done very well. Do you like any of these as a mid-cap fund which people can approach? Why or why not?
Right, Gaurav. Right, Neeraj. Out of these, I have picked Mirae. So I'll talk about that one. Though I am invested in Axis myself, so in the mid-cap. But I've liked Mirae, and I'll tell you why. So my little pointers. First is I feel it comes from a very sound fund house, and they have actually proven their worth, especially in terms of stock picking in the mid cap category. So I think that's one point. Second, Neeraj, they are very clear in terms of the sectoral allocations. So it's typically you hug the benchmark kind of an approach when it comes to the sectoral allocations, and within those sectors is where they use their skills and they do the stock picking. It's a compact portfolio. It should not go beyond 50. It's around 49.50 currently. Yet it's well diversified with a capping of about 5% maximum that they're planning to allocate to any particular stock. Now, if we deep dive and if we see, how this fund is constructed, and when we're talking about Mirae, it's hard to not mention about emerging blue chip. So if you actually go back and see how emerging blue chip was constructed, the framework of Mirae Midcap is very similar to how emerging blue chip initially was.
Mm-hmm.
So that's one interesting thing in terms of the approach, because it's a combination of growth and values. It's a blend style. The capping at 4 to 5% per stock, that's being followed here as well, which was done in emerging. And the fund manager who's currently managing the mid cap, Ankit Jain, actually is assisting Nilesh Surana in the emerging blue chip since the January of 2019, since last 2 years. And this fund was launched in mid of summer of, I think, 2019. So it was, after a bit of his probably 6 months orientation with him. So, of course, it's the same fund house. So the structurally also there's some similarity. Having said that, there is no guarantee that, this is going to be the next, best performer from the fund house. Nothing like that. But it's a nice diversified combination. Also, Neeraj, when we're comparing this fund with the other names, UTI, SBI, Edelweiss, Axis, currently, if we are seeing from even the valuation point of view, the portfolio has the least PE and the PB at present. So it's just about 21 for this fund, and it's as high as 36 for the UTI mid-cap. So it's a huge difference there. And another interesting differentiation here for Mirae is that they're holding about 18 to 20% in large caps. Vis-a-vis all the others who have about 3%, 1%, Edelweiss doesn't have large cap at all. And so that's another distinction. That's something which gave me comfort, because I'm happy to be invested in a mid cap, but I don't mind a bit of a cushion, let's say, coming in the form of large caps as well. And the allocation to small cap again is limited at around 10%. Which is as high as 26%, let's say, in SBI mid cap. So
more conservative than the others.
Yeah. So this is my personal views. So the kind of portfolio I would like to invest my money in. Of course, investors have to make their own, do their own research. And a couple of other points are that 2019 till now, since it has been launched, I think it has been a difficult time. And in a very difficult time, a new fund has actually performed reasonably well. It's, I think, at the third or the fourth in terms of if we see the overall funds. And we've picked funds which have more than 1,000
crores, yeah.
So, it's kind of proven a bit of its worth in a very hard time, but it's a long way to go, and comparisons will be made, I think, with the other funds from the fund house. But I think it seems like a decent bet on the risk-adjusted basis as well.
Okay. Viewers, just a standard disclaimer that we ask Pravleen to choose the best performing mid caps from mid cap funds, all of which necessarily need to have an AUM of over 1,000 crores. So maybe a fund that you may have seen would have been an amazing performing fund, but the AUM would have been lower. So out of the three names which stood out, this one is something that Pravleen likes the most. Sorry, Pravleen, you wanted to add?
One more point I'd like to add here, because Neeraj, there's a lot of consciousness about the expense ratios. This has expense ratio to direct plan. It's just 0.37, which is again the lowest, because UTI and SBI actually go above 1%, and even Edelweiss has about 0.8. So in terms of expense ratios, also it's the least as of now. I mean, it can change going forward. I'm not.
Yeah. But again, so proponents of DIY investing, you would agree that having a lower expense ratio is obviously better if you are indeed thinking about long-term compounding. So, okay. So for all these reasons, Pravleen has chosen Mirae as from amongst the funds which have done the best. She's, of course, standard disclaimer, invested in some of the other funds as well, which brings me to the final conversation point, which is Pravleen, a fund within that category that you are recommending. Why? I mean, this is something that I think investors would really want to know, that where is it that you believe your clients should put in fresh money right now?
Okay, so if you're just saying right now, I think, Neeraj, it's a very difficult call to make, because the way the markets are. So honestly, a dynamic asset allocation category, as a category for somebody who's really confused right now, I would suggest that. But the fund I'm going to talk about is from the mid and large category, because I feel, again, it's a combination of both the worlds. It's the top 250 stocks is what the Indian markets are broadly all about. So I will go with this category, and the fund that I have picked is the Axis Growth Opportunities. Now, why I like this fund is it's a combination of large, mid, and global. So I am quite an advocate of global investing. I feel that any portfolio must have some bit of an allocation towards your international markets. And this fund particularly, I think it's a good starting point, because the global allocation that it takes is only in the large cap stocks globally. So it can invest up to 35% globally, and within that 35%, it's got a huge portfolio of about 30 stocks, global stocks. So the allocation to one particular global stock is not more than 1.5% currently. And currently it's got about 25% globally. So it's a small allocation spread across about 30 stocks globally. So that's one thing I've liked, because I think valuations even abroad are, really, really high. So from the point of view of, risk, I think that's something nice. Axis, again, as a fund house, I think has proven itself. Typically, this fund follows a growth style, because that's how Axis, I think, usually, is running its funds. So the focus is on growth stories, it's bottom-up stock picking, and there's a lot of focus on the governance and the pedigree of promoters. So they've actually, I think the filters that they deploy, whatever I've understood, is that there's a huge focus on governance, and they're quite away from any kind of PSU stocks, because I guess that there's less of, I think, ownership, let's say, in PSU stocks. So good governance, and it's a good combination of mid, large, and global stocks, with again a focus on sustainable competitive advantage. So valuations, I don't think, is much of a concern for them if they see that the company will continue to grow. And even if the valuations are slightly higher, I think that's the approach that they take. They focus on innovation. So broadly, this is my pick from the category. Another 2 points here, Neeraj, that the international investments, they are being advised by Schroders. So it's not totally that the Indian fund managers taking the call. They are being advised by Schroders for the international allocations, and that's broadly it. But again, on the negative, the same point I would say for Mirai also and this one also, that both are comparatively young funds. And I think it's still a long way to go for them to actually prove themselves. But the fund manager for Axis is already managing Axis long-term equity, Axis focused 25. So
Dinesh
that,
Gopani.
yeah. So Jinesh Gopani is the fund manager. So he's already managing some of the very good funds from Axis. But still, investors have to keep that in mind that it's still a long way to go for these funds to prove themselves. And these are two of the funds that I've liked broadly.
Okay. Any disclaimers probably?
Yeah. So Axis, of course, because we operate as distributors, and we do business with Axis, but here, this is my, the recommendation. It does not give us any other advantage, or, there is no compensation directly, indirectly, which is attached to this particular discussion of ours today.
Yeah, fair call. Okay. Probably this was lovely talking to you. Thank you for giving us such valuable advice on 3 very important and current topics, so to say. And
one thing, Neeraj, I'd like to add here quickly, that for somebody who's looking at a significant global exposure, Axis, because it's just 1/3 of the portfolio which goes globally. Somebody who's looking for a significant portfolio globally will have to actually probably add another global fund, because overall it's out of your 3,000, 10,000, only a small part will go. So that's something that investors must be careful about while investing here.
Fair call. Thank you for that advice as well. But probably really good having you. Thanks for giving us your advice, and look forward to have you more often on the Mutual Fund Show.
Thanks, Neeraj. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure is ours. And viewers, thanks for tuning into this edition of the Mutual Fund Show.